Thanks for joining us this morning. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Thursday, March 19th. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Shin Se-min. But before we get started, these are the stories we're topping the hour. Stocks on Wall Street plunged below the level President Trump inherited from his predecessor as fears over COVID-19 continue their stranglehold on the markets. The trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange will be closing temporarily, going fully electronic from Monday. Special entry procedures to come into South Korea applies to all inbound traffic starting today as the country struggles to contain imported cases of COVID-19. The U.S.-Canada border closes to all non-essential traffic due to the coronavirus, with a new measure likely to be in place for 30 days or more. Trade, however, will not be affected. As markets in Asia begin trading, we begin with shares in South Korea. One day after South Korea's benchmark KOSPI fell below the 1,600 mark for the first time in about a decade, the stocks index opened higher on this Thursday morning. The KOSPI was about 2% higher at the opening, climbing back above the 1,600 mark. And since the opening, however, the index is on a bit of a roller coaster. The secondary bourse KOSDAQ opened over 3% higher at around 501, and the Korean won stayed weaker, opening at 1,257 won against the greenback. Stocks on Wall Street dropped sharply yet again on Wednesday amid rising uncertainty due to rapid global spread of the coronavirus. On top of that, the New York Stock Exchange says it will be shutting down its trading floor starting from Monday as confirmed cases were discovered at its screening centers. Our Kim Bo-kyung with more.
As the spread of COVID-19 continues to pick up steam worldwide and confirmed global cases topped 200,000, Wednesday was another day of severe bloodletting on financial markets. Despite the Federal Reserve's efforts to bolster the U.S. economy, uncertainty over the Trump administration's stimulus measures and their ability to counter the outbreak's economic fallout caused stocks to freefall again. The Dow closed Wednesday's session more than 1,300 points or 6.3% lower, closing below 20,000 mark for the first time in 3 years. The S&P 500 tanked 5.1% and the Nasdaq was down 4.7%. The circuit breaker was activated on the S&P 500 for the fourth time in a week, halting trade for 15 minutes as the index tumbled 7%. Later in the day, the New York Stock Exchange said it will be shutting down its trading floor temporarily from Monday. It's moving to electronic trading as 2 people tested positive on Wednesday at COVID-19 screening centers set up at the exchange. It will be the first time that the New York Stock Exchange will be trader-free since the September 11th attacks in 2001. Across the Atlantic, markets in Europe were also in the red. Germany's stocks closed 5.56% lower to 8,441, while France's CAC 40 slumped almost 6% to 3,754. The UK's FTSE 100 fell more than 4%, finishing the day at 5,080. Oil dropped too as pandemic fears sapped demand for crude amid fears of a global recession. Brent crude dropped 8.6% to just over $26. WTI slid over 17% to settle at $22.35 a barrel. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, the number of daily new infections of the coronavirus has been in double digits for several days now as health authorities stay alert for cluster infections across the nation. So far, a total of 8,413 cases of COVID-19 have been reported, and the death toll currently stands at 84. In a shocking development, though, a 17-year-old boy died in Daegu after showing symptoms of pneumonia, and the health officials there are doing a post-mortem coronavirus test to determine the exact cause of his death. If tested positive, he will become the first teenager to die from the disease in South Korea, definitely sending an alarming sign for the entire population here. And the vice health minister has also gone into a self-quarantine after having been in contact with a virus patient. The South Korean government has expanded the special entry procedures to all inbound traffic starting from midnight this Thursday, just 3 days after it implemented a tougher quarantine on all arrivals from Europe. All people coming into the country will have their temperatures checked and fill out health documents at the airports. And they also need to verify their contact number and addresses while they are here and download a self-check application to report their health conditions for the next 14 days. Now, the move comes as Seoul's health authorities say the country has been seeing over 60 imported cases of COVID-19. With Europe becoming the new hotspot of the COVID-19, the region now has more confirmed cases than China, the origin of the virus. As Europe struggles to contain the pandemic, Germany's chancellor has called the situation the biggest challenge since the World War II. Our Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
Europe has surpassed mainland China in terms of the number of coronavirus infections. As of Wednesday, the number of cases within Europe stood at nearly 88,000, exceeding that of China, which amounts to some 81,000. Europe has also reported over 4,000 deaths, more than China's 3,200. Italy's fatalities alone stood at over 2,900, and the country has 35,000 confirmed cases so far. Over 10,000 infections have been confirmed in Spain and Germany, which also saw a rapid increase in the death toll. In an effort to curb the further spread of the virus, many European nations are putting in place stronger measures. The UK ordered schools to close across the country starting Friday, while Germany announced it will temporarily halt its refugee intake programs. This comes as German Chancellor Angela Merkel made a televised address to the nation Wednesday night, describing the pandemic as the biggest challenge the country has faced since the Second World War.
It is serious, take it seriously. Not since German reunification, no. Not since World War II has there been such a challenge to our country that so much relies on our universal solidarity.
Merkel also told the German public that the government is doing everything it can to minimize the economic pain inflicted by COVID-19. She stressed that the public needs to accept the current restrictions put in place and show a sense of close solidarity. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The United States and Canada are closing their border to all non-essential traffic due to the coronavirus pandemic. Taking the news to Twitter, President Trump said it will not affect trade but did not reveal any additional details. Now, the move comes in just a week after the U.S. banned foreign travelers from Europe for the next 30 days, later expanding that to foreigners coming in from the UK and Ireland as well. The UK, however, has not closed its border with Mexico. President Trump also announced Wednesday that he will be holding a press conference on a development regarding the FDA and the coronavirus likely to take place in the next couple of hours. The U.S. State Department is suspending routine visa services in most countries amid the rapid spread of the virus. It said in a statement on Wednesday that it will resume visa services as soon as possible, but explained it's unable to provide a specific date at this time. The U.S. Embassy in Seoul is also suspending all routine appointments for immigrant and non-immigrant visas, namely the interviews, starting this Thursday. The embassy said the new measures will not affect the visa waiver program for South Korean citizens or services for U.S. citizens. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has attended a ceremony to break ground on a general hospital in Pyongyang, calling the opening of the hospital a crucial task to improve the regime's public health. The ceremony to begin the construction of Pyongyang General Hospital marked Kim's first reported public activity in the capital in about 3 weeks. The leader Kim also ordered the hospital to be completed by the 75th founding anniversary of the Workers' Party of Korea on October 10th. As for the situation in the north, the regime claims it has no coronavirus cases, despite North Korea being sandwiched between the virus-stricken countries of South Korea and China. But watchers say the North is not being transparent about the COVID-19 outbreak inside the regime, with a daily NK report suggesting North Korean authorities this week extended school closures through mid-April. South Korea has won international praise for its swift rollout of drive-through coronavirus test centers all across the country. Now, these facilities have screened some 300,000 people, offer a fast and secure way to get tested, all while limiting the possibility of medical staff being exposed to the virus. Our Kan Hyung-woo with this report.
South Korea's drive-through test centers for COVID-19 have provided a quick and easy way to get checked for the virus. But the medical staff say drivers must come alone with no passengers.
The coronavirus spreads through droplets, so if you have someone else in the car, that person could get infected. That's why we only accept drivers visiting by themselves.
The installation of drive-through test centers is one of the major reasons behind how South Korea has been able to take samples from almost 300,000 people in less than 2 months. There are around 70 drive-through test centers in operation across the country. And since the driver stays inside the vehicle throughout the whole process, it limits direct contact with medical staff. Also, hospitals don't have to worry about any possible encounters between patients with COVID-19 symptoms and those visiting for other reasons. But safety is not the system's only advantage.
The merits of drive-through test centers, as I mentioned earlier, are safety and speed. Normal test centers usually took around 30 minutes per visitor. Drive-throughs take 5 to 10 minutes.
As for the rest of the world, especially in some Western countries faced with an increasing number of confirmed cases and fatalities, drive-through test centers may present a solution in coping with the outbreak. The first step in treating a patient is to conduct a diagnosis, and it has to be accurate and fast. Since COVID-19 is highly contagious, finding out who's infected is a crucial step in curbing the spread of the virus. Kan-yu, Arirang News.
The World Health Organization is calling on other countries to follow in the footsteps of South Korea when it comes to fighting the COVID-19 outbreak. The head of the agency says the latest decline in infections in South Korea was due to the nation's innovative testing and the distribution of protective face masks. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Over the past few weeks, foreign media outlets have praised the way South Korea has fought back against COVID-19 and flattened its curve in relation to the number of confirmed patients and deaths, despite at one point having the highest numbers outside of mainland China. The World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus praised South Korea's measures on Wednesday, calling on other countries to follow in its footsteps. He especially thanked South Korea over its unwillingness to give up when it was at the peak of the outbreak a month ago, saying the nation came up with innovative testing methods and even helped distribute face masks to its citizens. He added the nation was able to track each person who came into contact with a confirmed patient, test them, and quickly quarantine them before the virus spread further. While South Korea is starting to see a sharp decline in the number of infections, other parts of the world are struggling to contain huge spikes in cases. The WHO chief called on these countries to follow what was done by South Korea and other countries who have successfully fought the virus and apply it themselves. He remained optimistic that a vaccine could be on its way, as a number of countries are now sharing information among each other. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning. A strong wind advisory is in place for the entire nation, and most regions will experience gusts of up to 90 kilometers per hour, strong enough to topple trees. And the winds in eastern Gangwon-do province could be even stronger today. What's more, there is a dry weather advisory in place for the southeast and for Gyeonggi-do province, fire weather conditions, so be careful. Meanwhile, central inland regions will see light showers along with thunder and lightning into this afternoon. The northern regions will see a big drop in temperatures today, Seoul getting up to just 10 degrees. That's about 7 degrees lower than yesterday. Southern provinces, meanwhile, will continue to have spring warms with highs in the upper teens. And the air quality will improve this afternoon and skies should get sunnier. The capital will see warmer weather again from tomorrow. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for views around the world.
That is our time at this hour on Arirang News. Our next news lineup coming up at noon Korea time with the latest headlines, so do tune us again. Thank you for watching and goodbye.